Okay, so another one of the things that I see that comes up a lot in conversation with, I hear it come up, I see it, like in Facebook forums and whatnot. Forums, is that a thing people still stay? I'm old. Groups. Let's
Oh
call
my
them groups. Anyway, but a thing that comes up a lot is how, like, as spouses, we feel about what we're doing, like the level of importance of what we're doing compared to what our service member is doing. And the problem there is, of course, our service member is off serving our nation, right? It's hard to argue that what they're doing isn't incredibly important. And yet it's so undervalued what a spouse provides. For their service member, for their country, for that matter, because, agree or not, I come from a background where I've done both.
Mhm.
And so I will tell you, I served in the Army for a little over 6 years, including a deployment to Iraq. And I did that. I didn't have kids at the time, but it is where I met my spouse. And I found that exceptionally easier than being a spouse of a service member.
Yeah.
And there's so much there to unpack, but it's just when you're a service member, you're trained, you're out, you're doing the thing, you're just doing what you were trained to do, and you don't really think a lot about it. It's what you
Mhm.
signed up for, it's what you're trained for, and you just do it. But when you're the one that's at home, there's a few things happening there. One, the stress of what's going on with your service member, whether they're deployed or not. Usually, if they're deployed, or somewhere else, the stressor is bigger. But what is going on with your service member? The concern over the pressures that they're experiencing and safe, like literal safety for their life, kind of things are there for you. So that's definitely not to be overlooked. And then the entire weight of your family and your household falls on you as a spouse. You are always going to be the one it falls back on because your service member doesn't get a say in when they deploy, when they PCS, when they go TDY, when they go to the field. They don't really get a say in all that. So it's going to fall on you, period.
Yeah.
And I think it's so overlooked that this is what spouses carry. And yes, it is what we sign up for. And no, not everybody realizes that. And some of us stick around anyways. And so I think it's important, number one, not tuning my own here at all, but I'm looking at all the other spouses and just saying, I commend you for what you do because I used to laugh at the bumper stickers that say, something to the effect, and this is when I was in the Army, right? And I'm sorry that I ever did this, but I
Mm.
would look at the bumper stickers that said military or Army wife, hardest job in the Army. And I'd like scoff at it. I'm like, who are you to like,
Yeah. And now you are one. And you're like, I take it back, guys.
I take it back. This is the hardest job that I have done, is way
Yeah.
harder than what I did as a service member.
But now you have kids also. I think that that's a factor because, when you were in the military and you didn't have children, then there's a different level of responsibility and, daily life that comes into play. When you have kids, it's totally different.
It is. It is. And even so, I got out of the Army. And there was a period where I was still supporting my husband and we didn't have kids yet. And so
Yeah.
there's still, kids or no kids, there's still a level of pressure to keep things in your home, in your relationship running smoothly.
Yeah.
And so that was a little off topic from where I wanted to go with that, but it felt really important to identify what a military spouse brings to the table, how this we haven't even gotten into like pursuing your own passions, right? But just considering that what your spouse is doing is an incredibly important pursuit, and you supporting that is an incredibly important pursuit. And
Yeah.
then when you take into account, them having any kind of desire to have something that belongs to them, running a business, for
Mhm.
example, how do they come to terms with not feeling guilty or selfish around wanting that for themselves? when their service member is off doing the tough thing. And like, how do I even get to claim that for me when I know that there's so much else going on in our life, right? And the fact of the matter is, if you don't pursue the things that you love, if you don't allow yourself to indulge in the things that speak to you, that bring you joy, you're ignoring a massive piece of yourself. And eventually, that's going to impact one, your own self esteem, which impacts who you are, how you show up, and it's going to impact your relationship with others. When you're not happy, that does impact everybody in your environment. Alternatively, when you are happy, that impacts everybody in your environment, but in a better way. And
Right.
so claiming what you want for yourself is not only not selfish, but it really does help keep the balance in the home. Now, like creating the schedule around that, that's a whole different story. We've done other videos about that. That's what I do for, clients as their coach. But just allowing yourself to claim it and not feel guilty about it, it truly does improve the energy in your home.
Yeah.
Um, I really, really like the phrase, happy wife, happy life. My husband does not. So he will counter it with happy spouse, happy house. But
Mm,
either way, I think, when you set the tone in the home of being discontent and overwhelmed and stressed, I hate to say this and make it sound like I'm pointing fingers or I'm not trying to put anybody down, but that's not a service to your house.
mm,
But
yeah.
filling your own cup 100% is. So,
I think by starting a business or having a business in the midst of, your partner working full time and doing their things, and you're raising a kid, your children at the same time, I think what having a business does is just really helps you create a little bit of your own identity outside and away from those things. And although it's hard to run your own business. I think it is important to have that self identity that's unrelated to anything else, especially when you're feeling so overwhelmed by all of the regular responsibilities that you have.
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I actually wrote a book called, so I wrote a book almost, is it 2 or 3 years? I don't even know. Three? I don't even know how long ago. That's horrible. It was on my 40th birthday. I'm turning to two. In a couple days, it'll be my 2 year anniversary of the book that I wrote, and it's called More Than
Nice.
Mom.
Yeah.
And it is talking about how you start a business so you can re-identify the things that you love and pursue those things. So you're looking at who you are outside of being a mom. And then I had this brilliant idea that I was going to do this whole line of books, and they were all going to be clever with like more than mom, more than a military wife, more than something else that starts with M. Found out that somebody else is using more than a military wife. So that kind of shot my dreams to crap. But
You could still do it.
maybe I can't. I don't think it's a book. I think it's something else. So maybe it's still allowable.
Yeah, it's
Um,
still there.
but the point is, like you said, Rita, it's if you don't have an identity outside of being a mom, being a military wife, being whatever the other things are in your life that you are for other people, then yeah, that also impacts your happiness, how you
Yeah.
show up for those in your life.
Well, and I'm not saying like you can't have that if you don't have a business. I'm not saying
No,
that at
absolutely not.
all, because some people are content with not, and then that's totally fine for them. I'm saying for me personally, that's what I needed in my
I
life.
agree 100%. So my suspicion is that if somebody is a stay-at-home mom and they're not pursuing any kind of a business endeavor or anything like that, they're probably not listening to me talk, since that's predominantly what we talk about. However,
Right.
if somebody did stumble upon us, absolutely, you don't have to have a business or a similar pursuit to
Fine.
be completely
Right.
fulfilled. For some people, it is their dream to become
Mhm.
a parent. And if that fulfills you on every level, freaking rock on. I think that's amazing. I have nothing negative to say about that.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I don't have anything negative to say about that either. It's okay to want more.
Yeah.
Okay to be happy where you are. And if you're not, it's okay to want more.
Exactly. You have to find whatever works for you and regardless of what that is. So, I think
Totally.
that's important. And, sometimes we need other people, coaches, friends, whomever, to come in and help us figure that out because maybe we think we want one thing, but then when we dive into it a little deeper, we realize that maybe we don't. So,
Yeah. That's, you know what, that makes me think of there's a business coach that I'm working with a little bit here right now. And what something that he said yesterday really struck me, and it sounded just like what you kind of said, or it sparked that thought anyways. And it was, when we start businesses, it's to make money. But what we really want isn't money.
mhm.
It's
It's
about what that thing gives us. What does
mhm,
it give you? It gives you security. It gives you the freedom to travel. Like, what is the, do you really want $1 million? Like sitting in your bank? No, you don't. You want what that money can do for you, what it provides for you. And the same thing with a business for a lot of us is, I wouldn't say 100% of people. I think there's always room for error there, but like, is what we really want a business, or is there something deeper that's fulfilling? So yeah, maybe it's, you think it's a business, but there's, when you get down to the heart of it, you realize, oh, okay, a business does fulfill that need, but this other thing does too. And that's
yeah,
also,
yeah. So just figuring out what's the best for you.
yeah, absolutely.